being disrespectful, but they talked a lot of trash, and they got humbled, and I think that that's okay. That is sports, that is what we live for in sport. After being humbled, A.A. Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces are now with their unanimous MVP, and 4 Olympians believed they would dominate the playoffs, but we did pretty well. It wasn't our outcome, but damn, we did pretty good considering how we stacked against them. Currently, A.A. Wilson is making an effort to act unconcerned, although she didn't play well at all during the game, which took place during the A.A. controversy surrounding her remarks regarding affluent players like Caitlin Clark and Paige Beckers. Wilson continued by saying that everything would be all right, and that she didn't seem to care about leaving the tournament to win back her supporters' love, and named she is the only unanimous MVP in NBA or WNBA history to miss the finals. Yeah, I don't want anyone to hurt me. We're blessed I get to play the game of basketball, get paid while I do it. I'm around phenomenal women. It's a fun thing, so hopefully no one hurts me. If we don't wake up the next morning, it'd be pretty good after being pushed a few days earlier by DJ Carrington Marina M Music, and now A.A. Wilson, after she was eliminated from the playoffs. Caitlin has finally gotten her revenge on them. This went from being one of the most loved teams in the WNBA to being riddled with so much drama this season. A.A. Wilson was under fire last week for the privileged comment that she made to Kelsey Plum, and coach Becky Hammond was under fire for basically saying that her team was too busy being celebrities and they were distracted, and that's why they're not winning games. The list goes on and on. If you're this Aces team, you really need to regroup and maybe make some tough decisions about the future of this team. A.A., as the face of the Aces and one of the league's best players, Wilson was supposed to lead her team to the championship game, but they fell short, leaving both fans and commentators wondering what went wrong. There might be more going on here than just a playoff upset. Wilson's departure has sparked discussion, with some speculating that karma might have been involved. This is because of her controversial remarks regarding Caitlin Clark, another rising basketball sensation. Could her remarks have contributed to the Aces' demise? Let's discuss how Brianna surpasses A.A. Wilson the entire series, or anyone prepared for the discussion made history by winning the WNBA's first unanimous MVP award. This accolade appeared to solidify her place as the league's best player, and it should have been the ideal capstone to an amazing season that set the stage for a deep playoff run, and perhaps even a championship. Who is unanimous MVP, which by the way is the first unanimous MVP in the NBA or the WNBA to ever not make the which is something else. Fans are they're gonna share that. It does not mean that we are misogynistic or we're just hating on Asia. No, it's just this is what happens when a team loses. Wilson is now the first unanimous MVP in WNBA history to not even make it to the championship series. For a player of her caliber, this failure is more than just a lost chance, it's a serious blow to her legacy. The Aces are one of the league's most talented teams, but they didn't make it to the finals, which was a huge letdown for both the team and Wilson. Wilson had an incredible individual season, but her team's early playoff exit clouds what should have been a defining accomplishment, leading both supporters and detractors to question the real worth of an MVP award if it does result in postseason success. This is where things start to get interesting. Earlier in the season, A.A. Wilson's remarks regarding Caitlin Clark, the rising star from Iowa who has swept the basketball world, garnered media attention, but A.A. Wilson didn't seem to be as excited about Caitlin Clark's promotion by Nike, according to reports that he thought the player was privileged and didn't deserve the attention. This stance surprised many because it seemed to go beyond basketball, and some saw Wilson's comments as an attempt to gatekeep the league by preventing an up-and-coming player from. Many people at the time questioned why a season MVP like Wilson would criticize a rising star like Clark, particularly someone who could help increase women's basketball's visibility. Was it rivalry or something deeper? Whatever the reason for Wilson's comments, they haven't held up well over time, and Clark is still improving, while Wilson's contentious remarks only served to highlight her disappointing playoff exit this season. While A.A. Wilson's main goal was to lessen Caitlin Clark's ring star in their playoff clash, Brianna Stewart, another MVP candidate and someone known for dominating in pivotal situations, absolutely outperformed Wilson. This wasn't a coincidence or a few exceptional games. In contrast to Wilson's struggles during pivotal moments when the pressure was on, Stewart flourished and delivered crucial plays that led her team to victory. Wilson, who had been expected to lead her team as the unanimous MVP, changed. You have 6 Olympians in your team, the 6 potty, and the referees. Stewart dominated Wilson throughout the entire series. Wilson, A.I.A., you have the point, and you are the undisputed MVP. God, she needs so much help. Lie as hell. But that is not the point of the story. Now, if you look at all these pictures, and I'm connecting the dots here, they are all wearing Tims, and someone may have left their Tims at Barclays Center, which is how we got this iconic picture of the Liberty getting the last laugh. But believe it or not, the last laugh does not end here. Now, after this game, in the post-game press conference, Brianna Stewart mentioned that she has receipts from last year, and so does the entire team. And she doesn't forget the things that said people says, excuse me, were saying about them. Wilson's ability to perform when it counts most was seriously called into doubt. Despite her strong regular season awards, her failure to step up during the playoffs revealed a serious weakness in her game. What distinguishes Stewart from Wilson is her ability to perform well in crucial games, a quality that Wilson hasn't yet shown frequently enough. For someone with MVP credentials, in the final game of the Aces season, Wilson only scored 19 points, which is a respectable performance for most players, but not for someone who is meant to be the league's unanimous MVP in a game that needs to be won. This is a clear problem that cannot be overlooked. With 4 Olympians on their roster, the Aces are expecting great leaders, and Wilson's lackluster performance was a major contributing factor. Wilson didn't bring the superstar energy that her team needed. Her presence on the court seemed off, and she didn't rally her team. Many have questioned if Wilson deserved to win MVP this season. After this sad conclusion, they need big that can stretch the floor, get out Asia away when she's trying to go to work, stand in that corner, shoot that ball. Okay, now if I'm looking at somebody, I'm looking at Tina Charles. Tina Charles, a little bit older, yes. Smart, knows how to play with other bigs, yes. Stretch the floor, yes. Do other things that Asia might need her to do, yes. Okay, I'm Tina Charles, I'm trying to get my first ring. This team wasn't just gifted. They had 4 Olympians, including AI Wilson, and were loaded with some of the best players in the world. It was widely anticipated that they would dominate their opponents and easily win a WNBA championship, but they faltered when it counted most, crashing out of the playoffs in a stunning disappointment. For a team with so much firepower, this early exit raises serious questions. Was there a lack of chemistry? Did the pressure get to them? Or did Wilson's leadership as the team's unanimous MVP come into play? Wilson was supposed to lead her squad, especially with so much talent surrounding her, but when the stakes were high, they fell apart, leaving many wondering why they weren't able to perform. Wilson and the Aces would be plagued by under pressure during the offseason, clouding what was meant to be a historic run. It's not going to be the same group probably next year. It just won't, and I'm sad about that because I really like that group. Now, what did y'all? If you liked the video, then like the video and subscribe to the channel from that, because I'll tell you what I gathered. All right, it's not going to be the same group. KP leaving. KP's a Valkyrie. That's what I got from it. I'm not no magic translator or anything, but that's really what I think she was trying to say. While Caitlin Clark, the player Wilson allegedly didn't want Nike to promote, was navigating her own playoff experience, her run was cut short under controversial circumstances, with foul trouble haunting her throughout her final game. In one particularly frustrating moment, DJ Carrington poked her in the eye, leaving her with a black eye and adding to the disappointment of her early exit, and to act like there isn't or hasn't been legitimate resentment emanating from those who are pioneers. Fooled here. You got pundits who used to play in the WNBA, some of them who didn't, and who was speaking on behalf of those who didn't want to create that kind of noise themselves because of the negative impact. We talk about it when the men do it. If we detect jealousy, if we detect envy, if we detect resentment, and it's amongst the fellas, we put it out there. Shit, we act like it's the latest episode of General Hospital. But when the ladies are feeling that way about another young lady like Caitlin Clark, and people like myself and Shay call it out, suddenly it's a problem. Despite these setbacks, Clark managed the situation with grace. Her exit wasn't because she didn't try hard or play well, rather it was because of some unfortunate officiating errors. Clark's presence was indisputable, and fans were left wanting more of her thrilling play when she was removed, highlighting her increasing impact in the sport. Clark's poise and perseverance in the face of difficulty have only served to establish her as a rising star whose future postseason appearances eagerly await basketball fans worldwide. Even though more seasoned players like A.A. Wilson were still competing, it soon became clear that Caitlin Clark was the main attraction for many fans after her elimination from the WNBA playoffs. This was one of the most telling indications of Clark's growing star power. Despite her MVP status, Wilson's presence wasn't enough to sustain the same level of interest. This change in viewership indicates that despite Wilson's accolades, Clark has a distinct charisma and star power that enthralls audiences. She has become a player that people watch not only for her skill, but also for the excitement she brings to the game. In the end, the fans have spoken when it comes to maintaining viewers' interest and engagement while indicating a possible audience. The question of who is the true MVP is brought up by the shifting of the guard in women's basketball as Clark's star keeps getting better. Although A.A. Wilson may have received the unanimous MVP award, her lack of performance in the playoffs and her team's early elimination made it unclear if she was actually the most deserving. Despite her own early exit, Caitlin Clark was the player who won over fans and increased attention, while Breanna Stewart dominated her in their head-to-head matchup. When compared to the impact of other players this season, Stewart outperformed Wilson in the postseason, and Clark's star power was ebbing even from the sidelines. The fans' desire to see more of Clark rather than Wilson suggests a change in the audience's perception of the league's face, even though Wilson may still hold the official title. Now let's go back to A.A. Wilson's remarks about Caitlin Clark earlier in the season. Wilson reportedly tried to minimize Clark's explosive rise and stop Nike from giving her a promotion. Wilson is now in a completely different position. Her playoff run ended in disappointment, and she won't return to the WNBA court until the following season. The timing couldn't be worse for Wilson, who had questioned whether Clark truly deserved all the praise and attention she was receiving, ironically at a time when Wilson's own performance was being evaluated. Fans are anxiously awaiting more from Clark, the player who once implied that Caitlin Clark was privileged and undeserving of the limelight. Wilson is now dealing with the fallout from those remarks. The player she attempted to fire has captured the attention of basketball fans worldwide, and Clark's ascent to fame is undeniable. Meanwhile, Wilson's legacy is being questioned after failing to guide an all-star Aces team to the championship game. In many respects, Wilson's postseason difficulties and failure to step up when it mattered most have made some question if her MVP award was well-earned. Her attempt to downplay Clark's success has not held up well, particularly now that Clark has gained the respect and affection of basketball fans worldwide, and Wilson's season is coming to an end in disappointment. Fans are demanding to see more of Caitlin Clark, and it's obvious that she is poised to become one of the biggest stars in the sport. Meanwhile, Wilson is facing a summer full of uncertainties over her own position in the league. As an AA, Wilson has a lot to think about going into the offseason because her team's failure to make it to the finals has overshadowed her career highlight of winning the unanimous MVP award. Her remarks about Caitlin Clark also serve as a reminder that underestimating people can have negative effects, but Caitlin Clark's future is bright because she has already established herself as a rising star with fans eagerly following her every move. The viewership numbers speak for themselves. Fans want to see Clark on the court. If you liked it, please like and subscribe. There are now more videos available.